Hey everybody, so happy to see you today. Happy Tuesday. So glad to have you guys here today and to talk about a couple of really cool stories that we have gotten over the last couple of days from our Bookmore Bride students.
Yeah, that we just want to make sure that you are hearing some examples because you can do it too.
Yes.
And it's not that hard. We want you to book more this year.
Yeah, exactly. Because so much of this is, especially in the year that we have all gone through, it's really easy to get discouraged, right? It's really easy to think, oh, the wedding industry is just, there's so many troubles with it. I'm not booking anything. Nobody's booking anything. People are booking, okay? The weddings are happening, bookings are happening. So one, we want to encourage you with that. But two, we want to give you some actionable tips so that you can do this as well. So that way you're not just hearing it and being encouraged and thinking, well, what can I do about it?
Right.
But like, how can you actually learn from this?
You have to push through that mindset too. And that's why real life examples really help. So it's like, we can say these things, but sometimes until you actually try and do it, your subconscious brain says, you know what, I'm going to try that, eventually, I'll get to that. And then all of a sudden you do it, and all of a sudden you're going to be like, woohoo, let's do this all the time. Where have you been my whole life?
That's right, exactly. So, all right, so first, the whole concept that we're talking about today is that the fortune is in the follow-up. Now, we didn't come up with that phrase. That is a phrase that's been around for a long time.
Sales phrase.
Yes.
Okay. But boy, do we need to hear it. I have to say, so many people don't understand this, but this is back in the 60s, fortunes on the follow-up or something like that. But like, yeah.
This is a long time. And so what do we, well, let's talk about what we mean by this. What does the fortune in the follow-up mean? It means that when you take the time to actually follow up with your leads, with your people, okay, making sure that you are doing this, that you are going to see results, okay? Because too many of us, honestly, raise your hand if you want, but I think that too many of us will say that we have not taken the time that we need to follow up with leads, that if they don't respond immediately, they kind of just float off into the ether, right? And they're gone.
Or we respond one time and we're like, oh,
they don't want us.
That's
They're not
sales.
interested.
One time is not sales. That's just reaching back out. A conversation isn't just two words like, hey, how are you?
Yes, exactly.
And then you turn around and walk away.
Yes.
Like, that's not going to make many friends.
Yeah, you have to. Well, that's the thing. You have to stay in contact. Okay, so I think it was last week. I talked about being professionally persistent. And what does that mean? Yes, that means that you are doing your job as the professional to stay in front of them and to make sure that you are being persistent in your communications in a professional way, in a way that you are letting them know that you are here, that you are ready to serve them without bugging them, okay? And the way that you do that is by, we have talked about the give, ask method. We're big fans of that. And what that means is that you are giving twice as often. You are giving them valuable, useful information twice as often as you are asking them to call you, to book a consultation, to purchase a package, right?
Yeah, because you just want to basically be more of a giver than you are there in all your communications. You don't want to call them up and just be hovering on them like, please book with me. yes, that's great. I don't care what you're saying. Just give me your credit card. That's not the way.
And the reason why is because, and the reason why fortune is in the follow-up is because of what we talked about during the Booked and Busy training, which is that there are buy now couples and there are buy later couples, okay? Not everybody, as much as we want them all to be buy now couples, they are not all buy now couples. They need time to make decisions. And that's where the follow-up comes in, is with these buy later couples, because you don't know.
Yeah, I was going to say, make sure you say this, because I had to talk to our students about this week. You don't know if they're a buy now or buy later.
Or at what point they're going to
when
tip
they're
over.
Become there.
Yes.
So
let's talk about these examples. So our student Antonio, who we introduced some of you to in the Booked and Busy training, okay, he is one of our Growth Academy students. He has been phenomenal. And like I said, I got teary-eyed after I watched he posted a video in our Growth Academy, and we'll share it with you guys afterwards, so that way you can hear it for yourself. But he was telling us why the fortune is in the follow-up and why it's so important to have a follow-up series in place. Because let me tell you a little bit about Antonio, give you a little background so you understand where he's coming from. This is what I do. I'm the storyteller, but I need you to have the context here, okay? So Antonio was a DJ in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he had a really thriving business. He was doing great. He was doing tons of weddings, graduations, birthdays, everything, right? He was very busy. His calendar was booked full, okay? Because he's a great DJ, right? Everybody loved him, and he did a great job with his business. But then he moved markets, and he moved to Savannah, Georgia. And when he moved to Savannah, well, what happens? Well, your clients from Charlotte, they might have some friends and family or people they know in Savannah, but no, he's starting all over again, right? He had to start all over with a brand new market, really establish himself and helping that local market to understand how awesome he is the way that the Charlotte, market knew him, okay? So what he did, so he has been with us for over a year now. He's been in the Growth Academy for over a year, and he has been so good and so diligent about taking each of the trainings in the Growth Academy. He is on every call. He has been digging into our trainings that we have, and off of our weekly meetings and everything like that. But making sure he's getting very clear on who his ideal client is, making sure that he has learned these things and then applied them to his business.
And he's taken those emails and made them his own. And sorry, I want to jump to the point.
No, please do. Go ahead. I'm sorry, because I'm the storyteller. Sure. He's the one. He's like, this is what happened, because exactly what's going on. But
so he's filling his pipeline up with people, which could be emails, it could be texting, it could be retargeting, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the second time that he said, just in the last few months here, that he was he's been talking to you. Want to?
Yes. So what happened was he had this email series in place, and he had this one particular couple. It was going to the bride. So he had been emailing her, had the email series in place, following up with her on a regular basis, just
Didn't
like we
hear anything.
Hadn't heard hadn't heard anything. Well, so finally, after the 12th,
I think the 12th this time. It was
the 12th email, he gets a reply from her that says, "Yes, I'm ready to book. Let's talk about pricing and everything. This is my date and everything." Over the course of 3 months, 12 emails over the course of 3 months. And the bride finally responded.
And why did she respond?
Because when he
talked, ask, what's going on?
Yes.
About your business.
He talked to her and everything. And he said, well, what made you decide that now was the time? And she said, well, my fiance and I were talking, and we're only a couple of months out from the wedding. And and he was like, you got to pick the entertainment. You got to pick this. We got to make a decision on this, right? So then she
became a
buy now bride. Yep,
yeah.
They became a buy now couple. But that's the thing. Antonio didn't know all of this. He doesn't know that this is happening behind the scenes, and you don't know that this is happening behind the scenes with your couples. Okay, yeah, go ahead. So you don't know that those. So you don't know those things are happening behind the scenes. Okay. But because Antonio was being professionally persistent, he was following up on a regular basis, even though he hadn't heard from this couple yet. He had not heard from the bride or gotten any indication from her that she was still interested, but he hadn't heard anything at all. So he continued to follow up, because that is what we teach you guys, is do not give up until they tell you one of three things. That one, they've already booked somebody else. Two, they essentially tell you to go away. They unsubscribe, right? Because they don't want to hear from you anymore. Or three, that they are like Antonio's bride, that they're ready to move forward and they want to learn more from you. Until then, you do not give up in your follow-up. You have to keep going, because we don't know at what point your couples are going to switch over from being a buy later couple to a buy now couple, okay? And that is why it is so important to do this, okay? So that is the big example I wanted to share with you today. And then just before we got on here, Nick was telling me about another one of our Growth Academy students, Zach. Yesterday was the marketing, marketing mindset, I think is what we call it on Mondays, Monday marketing call. That's what we call it. And so Nick usually heads up that one. So he was on there with our team. And while he's talking with Zach on there, as Zach was in the call as part of the group, Zach started getting some text messages from his couple. He had been, had requested information, but again, hadn't heard anything back from. And he started, getting text messages from this bride through our CRM. So Nick said, well, let's bring this out. Let's do this. Let's talk with her. And he kind of coached Zach through the conversation and everything. And Zach was doing a great job. He was, he knew what to do. He's a good business person, but he was going through this, and Nick was kind of encouraging him and helping him get through it and everything. And guess what? Zach messaged us this morning and said she booked. That bride that he was talking with through that CRM, because he had ongoing text messages going through the CRM, he had these things going on a regular basis, emails and text messages, staying in touch with them and making sure that this bride knew that he was still interested in working with her, that he was still available, that he was still ready to serve her, and he booked her, okay? This is the power of follow-up. And I really want you guys to understand, if nothing else, if you remember nothing else from our trainings with you guys, it is that the fortune is in the follow-up, okay? Because when you follow up with them, even if it doesn't happen right away, which, like I said, we all want them to be buy now couples, but they're not always, okay? We may get some sales here and there, but that's when your sales are sporadic. Because trying to find out which couples are buy now couples is going to take, you have to, it's like striking gold, right? You have to hit just the right couples in just the right time and just the right way. But when you have a consistent follow-up program in place, from the efforts that you do, from paid ads, from download pieces, from contact us forms on your website, when you have a consistent follow-up system in place, then you are ready and willing to fill in the gaps when those buy later couples are ready to transform into buy now couples. Because think about it. Let's look at Antonio's example again. Okay, would his couple have, remembered that he had, they had reached out to him at one point 3 months ago? Maybe. But what is much more likely? It's much more likely that they would have gone and opened up, Google and searched for a DJ near them. And instead, they had him right there in their inbox from when he had just emailed them either that day or the day before. It was that prompt that couple needed, because they were already having those conversations. You got to pick a DJ. You got to pick a DJ. And then his email shows up in her inbox and she went, yep, now's the time. I'm going to get in touch with him. And he booked her. Okay, so this is what I want you guys to remember, is how important it is to have a follow-up system in place, whether that's email or text messaging. A combination of the two is often quite powerful. If you need any help on making this, part of your wedding business, reach out to us. Send us a direct message, or you can comment, in here, and make sure you let us know, because we want you to make sure that you have this in place. And if we can help point you in the right direction and know what is kind of the right strategy for you, kind of how to get these things in place and to move forward on this, I really believe, and we know from these examples and so many more, this is just a few of them, but from so many of these examples, we know that when you have these in place, it is going to make a difference for your business. So I hope this is encouraging for you today, that it challenges you a little bit to make sure that you have a solid follow-up system in place for your wedding business, not just a couple of emails to follow up from when they originally reach out to you, but making sure that you are consistently following up with them until they tell you that they booked somebody else, they tell you to go away and they, unsubscribe, or that they are ready to have a conversation and to book with you. Okay. Until then, do not give up, you guys. The fortune is in the follow-up. Be professionally persistent, and it is going to pay off for you guys. All right. So thank you so much for joining us. Have a great day, and reach out to us if we can help you get pointed in the right direction, and make sure you have these things in place for your wedding business. Okay. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a great day. Bye.